Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Entrepreneur Encounters. In today's interview, I'm going to talk with Megan Bruzan, one of the co-partners and founders of Up and Over website, a collaboration of three women-owned businesses. This is pretty cool, and I want to start off by talking to Megan about how she decided to start and get into her business. Let's listen to what she says.
Honestly, it was important to me because I wanted to be able to set my own schedule. I didn't want somebody telling me when to come into the office, and I wanted to be able to work early and take the afternoons with my kids off. So I worked for a great nonprofit, but I worked 9 to 6 every day, and I wasn't able to see my kids. And I thought, wow, it really wasn't the life I signed up for. So I knew websites, and I really just started putting out ads and stuff like that. I remember I replied to some ads on Craigslist, and it was very scraped the bottom of the bowl at the very beginning, but slowly worked my way up. That took a while to get there. And now I'm able to really set my own schedule and be able to be with my kids more. I always just feel like, and if I can do it, anybody can be an entrepreneur.
One of the things that Megan latches onto is that if she can do it, anyone can do it. The fact is, we got to look sometimes at people who are ahead of us and recognize that just because they're ahead of us doesn't mean that we can't get there as well. It can feel daunting. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel like, man, I've been in this for a while. How come I'm not over there? So, number one, quit comparison shopping. But two, remember that's part of the purpose we started this podcast so that we can hear the stories of people who are a little bit ahead of us, so we can learn from them, so that we can grow. So sometimes we don't replicate their mistakes and we can gain their wisdom and be able to accelerate faster. So let's stick to that as we move forward. And remember, we can get there too. Oftentimes it's perseverance that's going to end up making the biggest difference. So I went on to ask Megan a little more about get into the nitty gritty. How did you actually land some of your first customers and be able to build some of that business success? Let's listen.
I really just kind of set my mind to it and just started applying to things. It was just really just applying to every job, every website that to contact every single person who I thought needed a website, making lots of lists. So who did I follow up with? Contacting people and then recontacting them. I mean, I think I was a pro at just recontacting people that I had a warm lead with or something like that. And it was really just continually trying to get out there and just keep asking people, "Do you need something? Do you need something?" And trying to figure out what they wanted.
I said it before, I've said it in another podcast. I'm going to say it again. One of the key features of being an amazing entrepreneur is persistence. Megan said that she would contact people and then she would go back and recontact them because it was a warm lead. It was something that was an opportunity that was out there. Maybe right at that moment, you got a hold of someone that wasn't going to be the time that they hire you, but perhaps there's a later time. Perhaps there's a follow up. If it's not right now, when's a good time I can follow up? Go ahead and book that on your calendar. Put it on there so you follow up in a month, in a week, in a quarter, however long it is. But she recontacted people. She was not willing to give up and knowing that there's an opportunity out there. The number of times that I've heard from people when I make a recommendation, say, hey, why don't you reach out to this person or this organization and see what they have going on? And then I'll follow up a few weeks later and say, hey, how did that connection point go? Oh, thanks for asking. I sent an email and I didn't get an answer. That's it. You sent one email. You made one phone call. You stopped by once, 5 minutes after closing time, and no one was there. Come on. We can do better. We can figure out how to recontact people. Got to figure out your own system. Sounds like, she might have been using something just as simple as Google Sheets or an Excel document in order to make lists and track it. You can use a CRM. It doesn't really matter what you use, but the fact that you had a prospecting list you wanted to go down, did I contact them? I wonder when the last time I did it. Let's do it again. Let's follow up. Let's be persistent and figure out how to get that work so that we can be successful because we have gifts that we need to give the community, and we can only give them if we're out there offering our services. So Megan goes on to share the core philosophy of her business. Let's listen to what she says here.
And so I mainly have a lot of clients that continue to come back to me, which I'm always really happy with. And I really do believe that website should be used as a tool. And so one of the things that I stand on is that people need to be able to use their website. They need to be able to use it as a tool. And so being able to create your own content, create blogs, create resources, and be able to use your website and not feel that it's a crutch or something like that. So I teach everybody who I build a website for, I teach them how to use it and really make sure that they can use it appropriately within their business.
I love this. Megan teaches her clients how to fish. when she's building a website for them, designing it in such a way that it's interactive, they can continue to use it. Look, not all of our businesses are at the place where we've got a professional team and IT management and support in the back end being able to develop and build everything out. A lot of us, what we need is I need an initial tool that's got the high professional level of development, but the ability for us to go in and manage content, be able to update it, put on new information, make the changes that are necessary in order to stay up to date with how our own business evolves and the new opportunities that are out there. If I asked Megan one thing she struggles with in her business, I think her answer is awesome. Let's listen to it.
Time would definitely be the big one there. Giving myself some room to be able to learn what I needed. I mean, every company, every client is different. And so different clients just would need different things. So for some specific ones, I would have to totally learn a whole new plugin that would integrate into their website. And just giving myself time and know that this process is a good one. And I need to be able to learn it. I need to be able to know this plugin to be able to work with what they need. And just giving myself time to do that was helpful.
I love this. Megan nails it right off the bat. She's like, it's time. I needed to be able to take the time to develop my skills and to learn the new things that were going to be necessary to be successful at her business. How many of us know we have a list of things that we want to accomplish, a list of knowledge items we know we need to acquire, but we don't choose to give ourselves the time to make it happen. We just keep putting it off and putting it off, putting it off. We're going to need to stop, breathe, and find out how to give ourselves the time we need. Scheduling it in, blocking it off. There's a variety of actions you can do. In fact, you may be saying, hey, Brent, that's nice to know. But fact is, I'm all so overwhelmed. I don't even have time to do the things I know I need to do, much less the things I want to do. Hey, that's fair, but I'm not really convinced that's the absolute reality. At Milwaukee Business Coach, we've developed a tool to help you figure out how to prioritize the absolute most important items. And we model it around the goals framework based on our 6 questions to success. That's going to help you figure out what's the most important item that you need to do and how to break down all the tasks in order to get it done. We find when you answer these 6 questions, you're going to be able to get items done. And when one of those questions or more are missing, that's the place where they tend to languish. So I'm going to argue this a little more about framework and preparation than it is about truly having time, because we'll find time for things that matter to us, and we won't find time for the questions we haven't answered. Just let that sit for a little bit. If you got questions, please reach out to us on our website, mkebusinesscoach.com. We'd absolutely love to help you out and continue along your path. All right, I went on to ask Megan how she stays on top of changing technology, which you can imagine in the website realm is always updating, a really huge issue. But no matter what industry you're in, you're probably getting some changes too, and we've got to stay on top of our industry. Let's hear what she has to say here.
When I hear that there's a new website developer or something like that, I really will go check it out and I'll see, okay, well, what pros and cons does this one have compared with some of the other ones? I specialize in WordPress websites, but some people, they want a very simple one that they can manage themselves. And so something like Square or Wix are going to be great for them. And so I need to be able to know those enough to say, well, actually, I think you should use this one. I need to know the pitfalls that they're going to see 5 years down the road if they're going in this direction. I found just with being able to give people recommendations and give people the right information that I need to know, I need to be able to dive in a little bit deeper.
I think that's really interesting, folks. Did you hear it? A lot of times she's staying on top of trends because she wants to be able to alert clients to potential pitfalls down the road. One of the challenges of always chasing this shiny object and always following up on everything that's new and hot and exciting and interesting is that sometimes we're setting ourselves up for some failure down the road. You know, hey, you can go with this design a website, and that's fine. But what happens when you grow bigger? What happens when you scale? What happens when you change? Now, oftentimes there comes a point in a system that we're going to have to do a big redo. That happens. But some of it is self-inflicted, and some of it we can do better on. So do stay on top of your industry, but think ahead. What's the long-term implication? And be one of those change agents that can really advocate effectively for the clients and customers that you serve. In fact, ultimately, looking into the future for our clients is one of the hallmarks of MKE Business Coach. We work really hard to be able to step back and see the broader picture and know the implication of the choices that are being made so that we can help people pick the next 1, 2, or 3 actions. Not so that they can do well today, although I want them to do well today, but that we're actually putting them on the right path to propel them towards the future. There are many steps people can take. If you take those steps, you're going to have to backtrack and go another direction. So that's one of the key pieces when you have some coaching that we want to provide some of that clarity on. So I went on to ask Megan about her support community. I think everyone needs to have a support community, and all our businesses get better because we do. Her story is no different. And so hear how she shares about her support community.
I use a lot of different people. I have graphic designers, I have social media experts, I have like IT people. So I have a big group of people that they help me with a lot of the other things. So being able to find people that you can trust and that you can utilize, and you can pay them for their services because it's going to save you time. That has been a really valuable skill to learn. And that's something that I always thought, oh, I can do it all myself. You can, but it's going to take you 7 hours and it's not going to be worth it. I really do try to stay in my lane and do what I'm good at so that I can get more done on that end. Love being able to work with different people. I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs, and I love working with women entrepreneurs, obviously, because I'm a woman, but I feel like we are always like, get right down to business, and or like a kid screaming in the background and stuff. And so it's always fun.
I love this. Megan surrounded herself with a group of people that she can really rely on to support her. All of us business owners can relate to kids screaming in the background, dogs barking when the delivery person comes. There's a reason all these online platforms put the blur feature on here pretty quickly. So do you want to spend 7 hours working on a task that you're not particularly good at, even though you could, quote, do all the things? Or do you want to bring some other people around you? Maybe you can take care of it in 15 minutes, a half hour, 1 hour. That is such an essential learning. Right out of the gate, one of the ways that Megan leans into her support is making sure that she's tapping into other people so that she's not doing all the things. One of the common traps for an entrepreneur is to try and do all the things. And yes, I know budget is a necessary balancing constraint. However, very quickly, we need to start figuring out there are some things that just take so much of our time, so much of our energy, and are so not in our expertise. But I want to ask Megan a few more questions because I want to get a little bit deeper in the support structure, because it's awesome to have folks around us. But what do we do when the going gets tough? Megan's answer to this is pretty cool. So let's listen.
Knowing my why. I love going back to my why because my why started when I was pregnant with my second child, and I started my business so that I could spend more time with my kids. And so I knew I don't want this to fail. Not doing this for the money. I'm doing this so I can spend more time with my kids and with my family. And that helps me clock out at night because sometimes I have a lot of work to do. And I think, no, this can wait till tomorrow. Knowing my why has been really helpful.
Folks, this is really, really important. Hats off for Megan for having the courage to be in touch with her why, not only to like figure it out once when you're filling out a worksheet somewhere at a seminar, but to reference it on a regular occasion. For her, creating this business was not just to try and get big gobs of money. For her, it was to give her time back to be able to spend with her family and with her kids. It wasn't something to be put on a shelf to be dusted off every once in a while. It was something to be lived out so that she could have a check to say, wait a second, is this something I need to do now? And does it match with my why? At MKE Business Coach, one of the things we help people with when we look at their why and we kind of tie that back to their vision is everything needs to go back there. Everything that you're doing oriented needs to sort of be anchored there, because that's the part when you wake up in the morning and you're just feeling like, man, I do not want to do this today. Is your why actually dialing you in? If you've got what you're doing tied to that, we then break that why down into the goals and figure out the actions that are necessary in order to get that done. It isn't because we need to make it super strict. It's that we want to make sure we don't veer too far off. Because when we veer too far off, we end up finding ourselves having done a lot of things that seemed like a really great idea. We're now completely disconnected from our why, that thing that gives us purpose and energy and focus. Well, like you, I can't do this on my own. I want to thank Chris Crean for doing all the music, both in our intro and outro. I want to thank my amazing wife, Kate Halfwasson, for doing all the editing to bring these episodes to life for you. If you like what you're hearing on Entrepreneur Encounters, I want to encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and share. So again, thank you for joining me on this episode of Entrepreneur Encounters. I'm Brent Halfwasson, Milwaukee Small Business Coach, and I want to invite Chris to take us out.
Ready to take